Mailbag time here on the Cleveland Browns Report. Thank you so much for tuning in to our mailbag, which was recorded on Friday afternoon following the Browns' win against the New York Jets. And our first question comes in from a very underrated TV character, someone named Creed Bratton, asking, should the Browns sign Kenny Golladay with all of the injuries? So we'll see if Andrew Berry makes any moves between when I'm filming and when this video goes out in terms of roster additions following Elijah Moore's injury. But Kenny Golladay could be a name to keep an eye on. If you don't remember Kenny Golladay, he was awesome with the Lions coming out of Northern Illinois. And then he got the bag from the Giants in free agency. And that was an absolute disaster. Just 2 seasons. They cut him early, just 1 touchdown. But he did have an incredible 2019 season. Kenny Golladay as a receiver is not a speedster, right? He's a big body type. He is a red zone target. And that might be something Joe Flacco could enjoy because we know Flacco's a F it. I'm going to throw it. And if he's going to throw it, there has to be some level of trust that his receiver can win 50-50 balls. And that's what Kenny Golladay does very well. So this could be a name to keep an eye on, but ultimately I had some major concerns with Kenny Galladay's just overall effort and attitude in New York. So if that has not been changed or if he is not in football shape, then move along, AB. This is not a guy we need to bring into the locker room if he is not 110% committed. Now, if you were calling the shots, would you sign a wide receiver, or could Cedric Tillman, David Bell, and Marquise Goodwin kind of hold down the fort? I don't think Amari Cooper will be gone for too much longer. Probably miss Week 18 if there's nothing to play for the Browns. But do you think that wide receiver room without either Moore or Cooper is a formidable room going into the playoffs? Question coming in from a longtime viewer, Mike Dibble. I've been thinking about this for a while now. What are your favorite Andrew Berry draft picks? Great question. His first draft was 2020. That's the Jed Wills draft. Grant Delpit was an awesome pick, right? Donovan Peoples-Jones was an awesome... Oh, DPJ... 2021 to, DPJ was a 2020 pick in the 6th round too. So if I'm ranking my 3 favorite picks, I'm going to go Martin Emerson 1. He got a true day 1 starter in the 3rd round. Grant Delpit 2. Delpit's awesome, but you got him in the 2nd round, so there's a little bit of a higher expectation level. So Emerson 1, Delpit 2, and number 3, let's go with, I'm biased, but Cedric Tillman. He kind of went to my alma mater. So Cedric Tillman as the number 3 pick right there. But I love Martin Emerson. Give me MJ, number 23, all day long. AFX Apocalypse. Who would you want to play first in the playoffs? And also, do you think Moore will be back by round 1? Great question, AFX. It's really hard to say when it comes to concussions when a player could come back. The concussion protocol is not a simple process. There are lots of things you have to get cleared through. Now, it is December 29th. We're not going to have a playoff game until, January 13th? So a little over 2 weeks away. Fingers crossed in 2 weeks, Elijah Moore could be available. But Marquise Goodwin missed about a month with the concussion. So I can't say for certain. Who do I want to play? If I could pick, and this is always going to have a dangerous game, if I could pick, I would face the Houston Texans. That might not be a popular pick, but give me C.J. Stroud as an opponent instead of Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, even though they appear to be broken right now. I don't want to be the team like the Chargers were, who found out the hard way in the playoffs that those are 2 very good head coach quarterback combination that can win a playoff game. And then as for the Colts, they are just super duper well-rounded. And so they were very well coached like Houston, but I think the Texans, what we saw in Houston, even if Stroud played in that game, the Browns are still winning. So I would say the Houston Texans would be my preferred choice if the Browns, of course, end up with the 5 seed. And if they get the 1 seed, well, we got to wait and see how the rest of the playoffs unfold. Now, before we get on to the rest of the questions on today's show, our sponsor, Prize Picks, has a terrific deal for the Dawg Pound, which is a $100 deposit match. Now, first, you might be asking, what is Prize Picks? It is daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 to 6 players and then pick more or less on their projected stats. So here are my selections for college football semifinal game. The less on Michael Penix's passing yards, against the Texas Longhorns, the more on Jalen Milroe's passing yards against the team up north, and then Mitchell for the Texas Longhorns as well. I think the more on him at half a receiving or rushing touchdown. So if you like my selections and you want to have a little bit of extra interest in some of these bowl games, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And when you use code CLNS, you're going to get a first-time deposit match up to $100. Now, that link is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. $50 super chat coming in from Drunk and Honky. Let's go. Thank you for your heart and soul and everything you do and have done for us fans of the Browns and your content. Drunk and Honky, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You have no idea how much that means to me. You're the man. You're the myth. You're the legend. Let's go Browns. Let's go Browns, Drunk and Honky. Thank you so much, man. Just water for me today, recovering from yesterday, but cheers to you. That's what I'm talking about, Drunk and Honky. Talk about an absolute, not even game changer, but tone setter right off the bat. Early in the live show, and Drunk and Honky has the Browns up 14-0 going into the second quarter. That's the Drunk and Honky difference right there. Now, next up on the show, Lil Beam. If Joe Flacco doesn't come back next year, should they sign Gardner Minshew or another backup or just stick with GTR? That's a great question. I think Gardner Minshew is going to be putting himself on a path for kind of like what Jacoby Brissett did with the Browns last year, where he's going to go somewhere and compete to start. That's not happening in Cleveland. Now, I think they would probably be open to running it back with DTR. I think people don't realize that DTR showed major improvements as the weeks went on, from his first game against the Ravens to up until the fourth quarter when he was down by just a score or two against the Broncos on the road before the concussion knocked him out. I think the Browns are probably more content with DTR than maybe your average fan would think they are. So my suspicion would be they run it back with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Gardner Minshew is going to want to go somewhere where he can compete to start. Same goes for Joe Flacco. So we'll wait and see how the whole Flacco, fever ends and whether or not the Browns bring him back or not. But those are my suspicions. David Snyder. Should we move Ronnie Hickman up to the starting lineup? He gets a pick in almost every game he plays. Who do you want to start him over? I would rather have Grant Delpit out there still. And maybe Juan Thornhill, who unfortunately has not been an awesome signing thus far, but that's really because of the injuries. Even when he's healthy, he hasn't been tremendous, but he hasn't been bad. And I think people are just getting frustrated with the injuries and the lack of availability. And so then when he is out there and he doesn't make a great play, it's like one more thing to the con column for Juan Thornhill, misses time, and he missed that tackle. All right, but you're also just overlooking the good plays he made in the game. So I think what's more likely, David, is we just see more 3 safety sets, right? And you see JOK and Taki or JOK and Anthony Walker when Walker's back. And then you get more 3 safety looks of Delpit, Thornhill, and Ronnie Hickman. Lil Beam, next one up. What would the contract be to bring back Anthony Walker? I was thinking a 3-year, $18 million contract. Do you think they would do it? Anthony Walker would love that. I mean, what contract Anthony Walker signed this year? Anthony Walker signed a 1-year survey. I'm going to guess, I don't memorize it, 1 year, $6 million. 1 year, 4.25. So a 1 year, 4.25. I don't think it's going to jump all the way to 6 years, 3 years, $18 million, $6 million a season. Maybe Anthony Walker signs a 2-year, $12 million contract or 2-year, $10 million. I don't think it's going to be that expensive to bring Anthony Walker back. Joshua Miller. Is Flacco AB's best move since he's been here? Josh, that's one of the best questions I think we've ever gotten. And the answer is, it has to be yes, right? Now, Andrew Berry, I wouldn't say got lucky, because in order for Andrew Berry to sign Joe Flacco, he needed injuries to happen for even to enter our dimension. But there were just no other quarterbacks out there to sign. Imagine if Carson Wentz hadn't been signed yet. Would the Browns have gone with Wentz over Joe Flacco? Lucky for Andrew Berry, that decision was made for him. But you know what? I'm not going to say Andrew Berry didn't make a great decision signing Joe Flacco. So, I mean, for what he's paying him and what he's getting out of him, it's hard to argue that there's been a better value addition other than maybe Dustin Hopkins with his 8 for 8, 50-plus yard field goal. So, Josh, I hadn't thought about it until you just tossed it my way right now, but I'm inclined to say yes, right? I think so. I think so. Lil Beam, next one up in the last question. Petey, do you think the Browns should sign Jarvis Landry to the practice squad? It's a good question, Lil Beam. We are recording our mailbag on Friday, so if something changes over the next 48 hours, bear with me. I'd be open to a practice squad addition. I'd be open to a workout, right? Let's maybe just start there before we just jump into bring Jarvis Landry onto the practice squad. If Jarvis Landry is A, healthy, and B, in shape, which I know as fans we love to believe that they are always both of those things, but Jarvis Landry had a lot of missed time over his final 2 years in the NFL. He's over 30 years old. There is a real possibility Jarvis Landry, who has been possibly hanging out watching football on the couch all fall, might not be in tip-top football shape. And so maybe even if he got the call, he's like, it's not a good time for me. Now, maybe he is. I don't know. I'm not hanging out with Juice right now. But that's something to factor in. So I'm sure Jarvis Landry would love an opportunity to keep playing, but I don't know if he's been staying ready. And if he has been, then sure, bring him in for a workout. And very sorry to the final guy in the practice squad, but Jarvis Landry might be able to impact the game a little bit more than whoever is the bottom man of the totem pole of the practice squad. So let me know. Should the Browns sign Jarvis Landry? Yes or no? Get down in the comment section and chime in for me here. Should the Browns bring back Juice? That's going to do it for our mailbag today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate those of you that take time out of your day to come hang out with us. We're going to sign off, and we're going to see you all later.